quick backstory on this relationship. I, of course, you all know I don't believe in accidents. Everything happens for a reason. So, good friend who's actually on here, Gabe. Gabe at a very well-known company who's bringing value to his people out there, called me up and said, "Hey, what can we do this year to like really bring value to clients?" And I said, "Well, here's some thoughts I had." He had some thoughts, came together with it, and we kind of tested what was going on out there in the industry, what people wanted to hear, Fortune 500 companies, insurance industry, finance world. And we kept hearing about LinkedIn. Everyone wants to know what's going on with LinkedIn. What's their latest algorithms? What's the latest and the greatest? So we said, let's go find out who like the best of the best is. So I didn't even hesitate. I reached out to a good friend of mine named Todd Hartley right here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And Todd said, "This is my guy. If you want him to be your guy, take him and run with him." Got on the phone with him inside of 5 minutes. I just knew from his energy, his passion, not to mention after a 45-minute full call, he gave me like 10 tips off the top of his head that he didn't even know he was doing. So he's going to be kind of my guy moving forward. And we're going to be doing some bigger stuff. So I thought it'd be a good foray into what we're going to be doing together to just do it right here with my own coaching clients and the teams I work with. So, buddy, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. You're a family guy, you're an entrepreneur, influencer. I'm going to go through all the bios, but anymore, people could Google your name, go on YouTube, go on LinkedIn and see what you're all about. So I don't want to waste too much time. So these are my coaching clients, man. These are my people. So I've been beating on them for a year and a half. Video marketing, digital marketing. Got to get out there. Don't be afraid of the camera. Go get the fancy mic, all that stuff.
Gotta get the fancy mic. That's right. That's right.
So we got salespeople. We got owners of companies, doctors, lawyers. I mean, we got a lot CPAs out there. I know. So we got a mixed crowd. But I want you to just let it rip. I know I'm, as my team knows, I don't love PowerPoint for my stuff, because I like to interact and be with people. So I'm gonna let you run it because you kept it tight, right? That's what I love. 12 slides or less. By the way, the first one's like an intro, the last one's contact. So it's only like 10 if you cut it out. We can send this out after the fact, I assume, and any kind of added value, John, you want to bring to the table. I just want to say thanks so much, man, for joining me and my team and everybody that's out there. I'm going to kind of control the chat and questions. If you could save those for the end. Our goal is to keep it to about 60 minutes. If people want to jump off at the end, we can do Q&A as long as you stick around. So, buddy, thank you so much. Take it from here.
Michael, thank you so much, man. I appreciate everyone joining here. Hopefully we deliver you a ton of value. I've been doing the social media thing for a long time, and I've seen with my own eyes how incredible of a driver for people's success that it can be. And right now we're in a time where all of this social media is free. So your ability to just take a post, put it out there and get thousands and thousands of views and likes and comments and shares for just sharing your thoughts with the world is really what I want to share with you today. So I'll share my screen and definitely, throw the comments in there. We'd love to have an interactive session. I don't want to bombard you with slides. I really want to have a dialogue with you and keep you engaged and keep you excited to talk about these topics with me, because I think they're incredibly important, as Michael has shared. So let's dive right into it. Let me share my screen, and then hopefully this works here.
Boom.
It does.
That's always critical step one in these, right? Can we get the thing to share?
You just don't know what's really going to wind up happening in these situations here. Okay. So this number is really critical from a LinkedIn perspective. And I talk social media on a lot of different platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn. LinkedIn right now is one of the largest opportunities out there. Gary Vee, if any of you know, he's very, very bullish on LinkedIn as a social media platform to gain massive amount of influence in a short period of time. And here's why. This number in particular is very, very important for you to know. 0.0001%. This is the amount of people on LinkedIn today who are actively creating content. So you have an audience of 650 million people worldwide. 250 million of those people are active, as in they're just kind of looking around. 50,000 of those people are actually creating content, roughly between 30 and 50,000. I actually confirmed this with the chief editor of LinkedIn. He and I have had a number of different conversations, trying to kind of understand where's the engagement. Where is LinkedIn at right now as a baseline? And this is our baseline, right? So if you think about where YouTube is today and where LinkedIn is today, LinkedIn is a rocket ship for you to build your personal brand. All right, let's go to the next one here.
By the way, Gary Vaynerchuk, for those who don't know, Gary Vayner, that's what he goes by. If you go on his handle, big on Instagram. I know he's kind of migrated. He's always done a ton of video content. But
Ton of video content.
Gary Vaynerchuk is the gentleman he referenced.
Yeah. The Vaynerchuk, he always just refers to himself as the VEE now. So, because people get confused by his name. But yeah, for me, and what's made me and a lot of my clients successful is really grounding ourselves on the what versus the why. I don't know if you're any of you familiar with Simon Sinek, Start With Why. Very, very popular book. And his main mantra is people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. They buy why you do it. And people connect on an emotional level, right? It's not a sales tool. LinkedIn, some people kind of think about LinkedIn as a way to sell. And that's not really the game on LinkedIn. The game on LinkedIn is talking about who you are, what you believe in, what you're going through. Who are you in general? Like, I tend to talk about things that I'm passionate about, and I connect with other people on their passions. And the connection from there leads to sales opportunities, right? It's a soft sell. There's no actual selling involved. I'm pulling people to me, and I'm pulling them to me on things we're already connected on. Once that connection is there, then we can talk about sales. And so that's really critical to think about content creation on a platform like LinkedIn from the perspective of, I'm going to share what I'm thinking about. And sometimes this can be a little bit awkward to think about, right? You put your sales hat on and like, well, I got to meet quota this month, right? And a lot of these things it's kind of a long game, right? If you're a doctor, it's a long game. I have a physician, great friend of mine in Phoenix, and I encourage him over and over. We got to start creating content for you. And he said, what do I talk about? I said, you like to be funny. Talk about things that are happening in the ER that are obviously, not personal information, right? Talk about things that are happening throughout your day. Talk about things about you going on vacation with your family, things that you're struggling with. He messaged me the other day and he was like, man, my entire world view has completely shifted now that I've been posting content. I go into boardroom meetings and people are like, Era, they treat me like a celebrity. And I'm like, that's the key, because you're going to get invited to more speaking engagements. You're going to get more impact and more income from the exposure. So the biggest thing in it here, and we could talk about this further as the questions come through, but especially now in the era of COVID-19, people don't want to be sold to. They want to make connections, right? They want to build community more so now than ever before.
Yeah. And what's one thing you guys can see in the background, you all know the book cover because most of you have it. My book is What's Your Story? That's such an important part of what I teach in coaching is everyone has a story. I don't care if you're a doctor or lawyer. It doesn't matter what your title is. It's personalizing who you are. But I think the biggest challenge, and we'll get the questions coming through in a bit, people have to get out of their way. It's like, who wants to hear my story? Who wants to hear how funny I'm a doctor, right? But they do want to hear these things.
Yeah. I have this happen in every industry, every arena. It's the inner critic saying, why would anyone want to listen to me? So at any level that you're at, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a this, I'm not a that, but I see it every single time. It's the people who are consistently sharing their stories over time, right? This is a long game. It's the consistency over time. It's the why behind what you do, right? That's what's creating the community. And when you have that community, it's like gold.
Love it.
Let's see here. Will that do it? No. Oh yeah.
And guys, feel free to pop questions in. I'll be monitoring.
Yeah, pop them in.
Pop them in. We'll keep them as we go.
I'm an open book. And Michael's an open book too.
No doubt.
All right. So pretty easy types of content, right? This might be a 101 scenario topic, but I do want to talk about some behind the scenes things on this, because I think it's important if you're going to get into content creation, or you have been into content creation, a lot of people ask, well, what should I be posting consistently? What's going to drive engagement? What's going to drive views, likes, comments, shares, virality, all of those things, right? text posts on LinkedIn by far have always done the best for me. Now, you're going to hear from people, or you may hear from people who are all in on LinkedIn video. Now, a lot of the people who are all in on LinkedIn video are still all in on video because of what happened 2 years ago. So, and they're still kind of trickling that vein of LinkedIn video because that's where they started. That's their niche, but video is not doing nearly as well as just raw text or raw text plus pictures. I don't know why exactly raw video doesn't do well anymore, but they had an algorithmic change 2 years ago. And I have a hypothesis of what it's related to, which is they were counting video views as just somebody clicking on it for 1 second and leaving. So the view count of videos looked like it was through the roof for people. You'd put a video out and you'd get 50,000 views all of a sudden. And you compare that with a platform like YouTube, which is notoriously difficult to gather views, and people were going bonkers over views on LinkedIn. Once they changed the algorithm, I tell you, and I'll show you the view count. Whenever I do a video, if I were to slice that up and choose between a video versus text, I 9 times out of 10 just do text. And a lot of times I'll just post a video because I still like doing it, but I'm going to over index on text plus image 9 times out of 10.
Love it.
One thing I'll say about articles as well, because you can do LinkedIn articles. Articles are attached to Google searchability. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Google searchability is not accessible through text, picture, or video, but it is accessible through creation of articles because LinkedIn indexes those articles. So if your article goes viral and you type in a certain keyword from the title that you created, like how to get a job in tech, for example, some random title, you have the possibility of showing up in Google search when somebody types in how to get a job in tech. Now, I say just a possibility because you have to deal with a ranking algorithm, and that's a Pandora's box. So I tread lightly in that particular topic. And Michael, just let me know if there's any comments, questions. Okay, and then we can go from there. So here's kind of my funnel, my 3 different styles of posts, right? I got my videos on the right-hand side. These are native videos, right? So there's a difference between native and just posting from YouTube. Now, LinkedIn tends to not really care anymore. They used to be very adamant about your content having to be native, but that's because in the past, when you used to click on a YouTube video link, it would actually go to YouTube. It's taking people off platform. No app wants anyone to go off platform ever. Right. So what they did was they changed their platform. Now, when I click on a link, you'll notice, even if it's a web link on LinkedIn, it's going to keep you in platform. So, people will tell you all the time, don't share links of videos from off platform, but it's embedded in the experience. So it doesn't really matter anymore. But look at the view count, right? Like this is a more recent video, 118 views. Right, take a bunch of time. I shorten it from YouTube. Right, I'm doing repurposing of content all the time from YouTube to different media sources. Right, my YouTube's going to be long form, 5, 7, 10 plus minutes. LinkedIn, 30 seconds, 1 minute. Anything more than that, people lose their minds. Right, they don't want to engage with it at all. I put hooks at the end of my videos. Funny things. Sometimes I do goofy things just to see if anybody actually watched it, because I'll know by them putting it in the comments. And 9 times out of 10, they're not watching to the end. And I have no watch metrics like I do with YouTube. So on LinkedIn, I don't know. They don't provide those data sources for me. So all I can do is put hooks in the video and see, where people are at. But
you know what's funny on that? I don't remember where I saw it, but it was a study that was during COVID. And this is true over time, right? Back in the day, we'd say if your video is like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, now it's gotten so short. The study said if you were at the 90-second stamp, people would just pull it up and go, too long, 90 seconds. Yep. So I want you guys all to hear what he just said, because even my paradigm has shifted. I used to do 2 minutes, 1 minute. Now it's down to like, if I can't get it in a minute, something's wrong. So I think that's important for people to get, because it's not easy when you and I were used to doing that. But when you're doing content creation practice, you got to get yourself to get that point out in 1 minute, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Singular point, no deviation. What's the takeaway? Right. Or if it's funny, there are some people that have a magic ability to be super funny and engage you during a certain period of time, or certain people are just insanely wealthy and the viewer wants to see all about their lives. But if you think about the 90% scenario, the 95% scenario of all the other content creators out there, right? It's a message that has to be shared within a very short period of time. There's a key takeaway and you're out.
Yep. I have a quick question that came through.
Yeah.
So for text, because I think that's a big paradigm shift for a lot of people here.
Yeah.
I knew that because I had read up on it in the last month, and you've given me some coaching here, making it back to simple. My friend John had asked the question. He's a coach, lawyer. He's built like your doctor buddy, started this past year and a half during COVID saying, hey, I need to go out there and own this space. So building his brand outside of being a practicing attorney and actually coaching attorneys. It's awesome. It's a gold rush out there because there's such a wide open territory for him. So he's built his brand in 14 months and he's doing everything that we're talking about. His question is, for text, what's the difference, if any, between posting directly to LinkedIn versus posting a short text summary and then a link to my original content on my blog? Good question.
Okay. Yeah, it's good question. Okay. Thanks for asking that one. So here's my strategy on this. I would actually take the link to your blog, put it in the comments. It's casual, it's subtle, it's in the comments, but the actual raw post is content.
Got it. Great
so I tend to keep it that way. I usually like to shy away from putting links unless it's super important, but I shy away from putting them in the body of the post.
Yep. Okay. It's good.
Yep.
Good advice.
Yep. So breakdown on a picture here, right? Like sometimes what I do is in the middle. Sometimes what I do is I'll see an interesting book quote, something that's part of my personal brand, something that I'm passionate about, right? And I'll do a quick summary. So same type of deal, right? I'm summarizing something, but I'm adding a picture. The beauty of a scenario like this is look what happens, right? If I look on the left-hand side with the text post, my text post is going to be truncated 3 to 4 lines. I have to click see more to expand. The beauty of a post which has a video or which has an image is that see more is just expanding the text. The image block is massive. Okay. So if you're looking for gathering somebody's attention in the feed, this can definitely do it, right? Long 1080 pixel by 1080 pixel square, 1080 by 1080, put it in there. And, this is the user view. Whereas on the left-hand side with the text post, I got to hook the reader in 3 lines, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but look at the view count, right? Like every time I go viral, it's usually because of the fact that it's text. I rarely have images or videos ever go viral, right? Like this post last week, 754,000 views.
That's incredible.
And we'll talk about that concept a little bit more about virality in a further slide here. So there is definitely a content structure that I've been following. I often joke that I feel the algorithm, and it's weird, but I actually, so in my past or in the past 6 years, I worked for Amazon for 4 years. I'm currently working for a company called SoFi. I'm a product manager. And what product managers do is they break down things in algorithmic ways. I'm serving up content on pages. I understand why certain things are needing to be on the top of the page versus the middle versus the bottom, right? So there's reasons why LinkedIn prioritizes the banner image, the headline, and some of the other things, the about section, the first 3 lines, the about section on the top. And then they fold everything else under the see more link for the about section. It's because most people are not reading beyond the see more. Everything at the bottom of your profile, not prioritized, right? By LinkedIn, they're looking at the view count of people going on the bottom of the page and they're going, meh, none of this stuff's important, right? So whenever you see something at the top of the page, when you land there, that for whoever the social media platform is is the absolute most important thing. And so people tend to kind of confuse algorithms all the time as like these Pandora boxes, but it really is just like a user wants to see the content that they want to see. There's a certain amount of engagement. If that engagement is high, they show it to more people. The engagement is still high after a day, they show it to even more people. They show it to even more people. So it's sample size, send to more, sample size, send to more, sample size, send to more. So I know a lot about this stuff from the background, on my other side of the background too. But
quick question for you.
Yeah.
That Gabe, thanks for that one. Are you using hashtags in these text posts? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Let's talk about the content structure of these posts. Okay. So the hook is the most important thing. First 3 lines, right? The see more link. You got to get people to actually click see more. That is an event tag for LinkedIn. See more means people are interested. They do that for a reason, right? It's an engagement metric for them. How many people click see more? And then beyond see more, how many people like, comment, share? Share is the most valuable engagement metric. So first 3 lines, very, very important. Storytelling 101, story writing 101, TED Talk 101, whatever it might be. You have to hook the listener or the reader immediately, right? A lot of really popular books or movie trailers, you're starting mid-sentence with something even, right? I'm saying in this post, for example, this is a little bit different, but what's more, right? I'm hooking the reader. Median salary for Facebook employees was X. Same story can be told for blah, 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 blah. What's more? Well, hell, I want to know what's more. Right? Because my target audience wants to get paid a high salary for working in top tech, right? So they're definitely clicking see more. Here, I'm telling a story. First 2 years I spent at Amazon, blah, 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 right? I had a difficult time, right? And I'm breaking through this concept that it's company culture that people go after as opposed to team culture, people culture, right? They tend to look at company culture on the surface and say, I want to work for the company, as opposed to like, I'm really concerned with the manager that I'm going to be working for. So small nuances here. White space in the post, very important, right? Not blocks of paragraphs. People tend to kind of make these massive blocks. Nobody wants to read it. Cognitive overload. Okay. So 1 sentence, 1 or 2 sentences, 1 sentence, question. Why do I tell you this? Boom. Key takeaway at the end. I'm always doing key takeaways at the end. Hashtags, I prioritize 3 of them, max, 3, 4 maximum. I see a lot of people doing content creation. They're linking tons of stuff. They're tagging tons of people. They're trying to get engagement, right? But people want to read the post, and if they like it, they'll engage with it later.
Yeah. So I know you're going to talk about hashtags towards the end. So
Yeah.
I'll jump ahead, but here's a question. When somebody had texted me actually, when you're creating the post via text, how do you know where that cut line is to get to the see more? Does it tell you that when you write the post?
So it doesn't tell you that when you're writing the post, but as you see here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of text. Now this is desktop. You have to check mobile as well. I can check it. I could check it when we get into the Q&A, but I think mobile is 3 lines. Desktop might be 5. But just pay attention to that and double check. The one thing you don't want to be getting in the habit of doing is editing a post after you've written it. Because LinkedIn doesn't have a way of knowing if you added curse words later, if you added bad content or anything like that. There's one check. It's out into the world. It's doing A/B testing. If I wreck that, then my engagement plummets. If I try to edit, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot this 1 word or 2 words. Like, I just leave it. I let it fly.
Wow. Okay. Good news. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
I let it fly. Okay. So we'll get to, let's see.
Hey, real quick, bro. What was that? What date was that post on that one? If you go back a slide. So I'm on mobile. I'm checking I'm trying to help you out here.
Oh yeah.
Go check in when that date was. I'm looking on your LinkedIn right now.
Which one? The first 2 years at Amazon one?
No, the compensation at the compensation 240,000. Where's that one at?
Oh man, I have so many of these. You could just
I'll
scan through the content. That one's older. That one's older.
Yeah, it's okay. I think it might be the same. It looks like it might be 5 lines where it says see more. 1, 2, 3. It looks like it's 5 on mobile too.
5 on mobile too. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So let's see. Let's talk hashtags, right? Very easy. There's a bunch of pre-prioritized hashtags that they have. Now, hashtags as a value proposition right now, still kind of low for users. Ideally, hashtags are going to be used to serve up the content that I, as a user, want to see, right? If I want to see things about medical profession, COVID-19, whatever it might be, right? If that's on my mind, I want to follow that hashtag. Now, ideally, LinkedIn is going to serve up that content to me as a user because it's relevancy. Relevancy wins the game. More relevancy, more time that I spend on the platform, more time that LinkedIn can send ads to me as a user and make more money. That's their end goal, right? So stickiness comes from relevancy. And right now, hashtags are a little bit all over the place. There are some top hashtags. We'll talk about that for a sec. But remember, stick to 3 or 4 hashtags max on your posts and stick to top ones. Because in the event that somebody is actually following that hashtag, it is going to get served up to them. It's a bit of a wild, wild west scenario right now. As you notice in the feed, if you pay attention to it, the feed is not really serving up relevant content. It's only serving up content for you based on what you've liked in the past. People. So it's people driven as opposed to topic driven. At some point, it's going to be topic driven. And that's where hashtags are going to really accelerate. But still, if I don't put hashtags in posts, the people that are typically following me are not seeing them and not engaging with them. So I do like to ensure that I'm prioritizing the top 3, top 4 for my audience group, and I'll talk about that in just a second here. So here's
real quick. You clarify the point of thanks, Kevin, Dr. Ashby out there. He asked a question about the penalization of editing. I understand. I think I understood that too. But
yeah,
what's the kind of the mindset there? So you understand that, because I mean, we all make mistakes, and I've edited before too, and it's only just like a minor edit, not because I'm trying to like get over on LinkedIn or trying to add stuff, but usually a spelling error or something like that. What's your thoughts on I mean, what do you know about that?
Yeah, so I don't know the backstory when it comes to abuse related issues from a LinkedIn perspective. I do, however, know all the behind the scenes scenarios from an abuse related scenario based on text entry when it comes to Amazon, because I was on the abuse team for 2 years. And so there's swaths of people behind the scenes that are basically manually reviewing content. Same at Facebook. And what happens is there's certain automatic processes and trust factors that go into their algorithm, right? So this person posts a lot, comments and everything that comes through are positive signals. We give this person a trust score of X, right? So we're going to not really look. You know, it's like, yeah, John's good. Michael's good. New user coming in, trust score, I don't know, right? I, as a platform, have to be very careful about what I share with people, right? I could share nude photos, for God's sake, right? Yep. And hits the information superhighway. Yep. That tarnishes LinkedIn's brand, right? So new user, I would imagine that they are sending through manual process. Every post gets manually reviewed. And I notice that sometimes when I post videos, I'll notice like a 10-minute delay of when I post my video to the first comment. But when I post a text post, it goes live right away. And I know why, because it's very easy to parse keywords on a text post to make sure there's no bad words. Very easy. Whereas on a video, I have no idea, right? Like what is in this video? Well, YouTube is one of the few platforms that have a very complicated way of determining if a video is safe or not safe. And LinkedIn is by no means anywhere near there. So, so I think it comes down to just, the way that they're slicing and dicing manual review versus automated reviews, trust scores, things like that.
Love it. Love it.
So, we'll give you the slide deck, but look at the amount of followers. Like for me, careers on the left-hand column is 22 million followers. Great. I want to be put in that pipeline. So I'm always posting careers, and I'm always posting another one, student voices. Now, student voices is no longer in the top 50, but it's just part of my brand because I talk to a lot of students. So there may be one or two hashtags for you where you're like, look, I feel really passionate about it. Maybe there's only 1,000 or 2,000 followers. Great. Use it. That's part of your brand, but get one in there.
Tell everybody where you got this information. How do you access these top hashtags?
Yeah, there's two ways to do it. You can literally just Google search top hashtags 2020, 2021. They're gonna pop up for you. Alternatively, you can go in the app and you can go into the people tab, and towards the very, very bottom, it says hashtags you should follow, people you should follow. So really easy to get there. If you want to just look up like how to find top hashtags in the LinkedIn app, there's a million videos out there to show you how to do it as far as a walkthrough goes.
Solid stuff.
Okay, so let's move on to virality. There's some things that I've noticed over the past couple of years, tactics, and one of those tactics is the 60-minute rule. So when you are posting something within 60 minutes, it is a critical window for you to engage with every comment. I typically like to even engage with a question back to the person who wrote something so that they engage with me again. Any amount of layers of engagement that I can get, the better. If I get 5 comments, 10 comments, I'm going to say, hey, how's it going today? What are you dealing with today? Right? Like what made you comment today? Something like that. Just anything just to start a conversation with the user. That creates community. And that's what LinkedIn wants, right? The reason why I won LinkedIn Top Voice last year was because their algorithm for what they wanted to serve up to the users focused on community. And community meant how many times people commented to you and how many times you responded back to them, how much you were writing back to the community and fostering community through likes, shares, and comments. So that was a big part of it.
I think that's a really big point, because I know some of the folks in here, I'm going to have to eat some crow here, my man, because last year, even before COVID, my most popular time to do LinkedIn was actually at the airport when I traveled a lot, right? Yeah. So I'd be sitting there on my phone, I'd post, share, like that was my time. Whenever I had like downtime, I wasn't really being strategic with it. It was when I had my own time to do it. And then you tell me about this rule and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how many times, and I went back and looked at my own profile, how many times I would have this killer post, right? There was even text, follows all the rules, and then I get on a plane for 5 hours and don't touch it.
Yeah. Woo, that's the flop. That's the flop.
Now I know. Yeah. If I'm going to post killer stuff that I think's killer, I got to engage, man. I get it, man. It's
got to engage, man. It's all about the community. That's what LinkedIn wants to see. So, so first 60 minutes are really important. What I also spend time doing, if you get any shares with your post, you know that is the gold signal for LinkedIn. Because a like is like, cool. I liked it. Maybe I read 3 sentences. Cool. It's great. The comments, I actually took some time here, but the share for somebody to actually repost what you wrote and add a few sentences to it, it actually takes even more time in a lot of cases. So what I do is I look at, like, that last post had like 200 shares. I spent a crap load of time engaging on every single share. liking every single share, because it's the shares that get me the network effect. The shares are people I don't know. They're second degree connections. They're third degree connections, right? Virality is a web, right? Virality is not going to necessarily happen from my first degree connections. They're going to happen from my second and third. They're going to happen from people tagging me, mentioning me. That's how you grow. So those shares are critical. Really focus on them when you get them. Don't get disheartened if you don't get shares. Like I said before, it is a long game. You're learning what your community loves. You are learning how to write well. And oftentimes it's something is not necessarily going viral because of you. It's going viral because it's true. And you just said it in a way that was already in people's brains and they couldn't write it. That's why things go viral, you know?
What about the other way? When I coach this team here, I talk about making an impression on the individual. And I don't coach the way you do it, like LinkedIn algorithms and all that stuff. But I say, for example, to my friend Annette, I say, why don't you share that person's post, put a comment with it, right? And let people know that your people, hey, I appreciate what you said. I'm sharing that with my 5,000 friends. So in a personal branding perspective, it's great, right? Because they're like, oh, wow, that person shared my post. They remember it. Now, you don't do it all the time just to get check boxes. But if you do it authentically, it goes a long way with the individual. Question is, how much does sharing other people's information hit the radar of LinkedIn? That's one thing to get stuff shared out there, but you actually sharing someone, how's that affecting me to share other people's stuff?
Yeah, great question. So when you share other people's stuff, it typically tanks from a engagement perspective.
Okay.
But there's another side of the coin that's very important. You sharing someone's stuff gets you on the radar with that person's stuff, right? So you have to kind of play both sides of this. You're like, okay, look, I'm likely going to get a handful of likes and shares off of this thing that I reshared from somebody else. But I tagged this person who is VIP in my world, and voila. You do that enough times, and then you bridge that gap and bring a virtual conversation into the real conversation, right? Especially if that person has a lot of followers too, there's an interesting effect. The engagement happens. Then what happens is your posts start showing up in their feed, at the top of their feed. And then they like your post. If they have a lot of followers, them liking your post is social proof to LinkedIn to boost your post. I have this happen all the time. People tell me all the time, as soon as I comment or like one of their posts go crazy because my social proof boosts the crap out of their posts.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. So keep it to, truth, irony, something funny. If it's truthful, ironic, or something funny, those topics go viral. The virality is largely not due to you as an individual or even your personal brand. It's just those three things typically. And you don't know what's going to go viral unless you've been in it for a while, and sometimes you get lucky with one, you go, oh my God, this is amazing. This thing had 20,000 likes. This is unbelievable. My new benchmark standard. And then all of a sudden your next one tanks. That happens to me all the time, No. So that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. We have one of our friends. I don't think he's on tonight. I think he had something to do. Alex, if he's out there, that story you may have heard in the Northeast about that high school hockey player who got hurt.
Yeah.
And, they weren't sure if he was going to be paralyzed or not. He's from the Northeast, big hockey guy. And the story had just kind of broke. So I think he took the local news channel story, shared it, and he was commenting about hockey players in general. Hockey's, a gentleman's sport. We still shake hands after games, right? All that stuff. Oh my God, we're watching this thing go and like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, go to like 100,000 views like that. And he's not even super active this past year. He's stepped up his game. But at that company, we gave him the kudos. We're like, hey, you did exactly what we talked about. You shared something, you hit a point, right? Is it truth, irony, or funny? I wrote that down in my notes. I love that. TIF, TIF, or fit.
Tiff. That's
Funny,
right.
funny, irony, or truth. But you know, figure
Yeah.
out which one you want. I always,
That's right. We should, whatever way you want to
yeah,
swing it.
I'm an acronym guy, man. Law school taught me acronyms, right?
That's right.
But just that simple fact of you're hitting a chord or emotional chord with somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he hit home was the truth of what he wrote. The story is compelling in of itself, but he wrote something with it that's truthful. I think that's important for us to highlight.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Okay. So let's move on. So I really want to point this out because the community who's actually involved in engaging on content is actually pretty darn successful, right? Like they are, if you're thinking about the layers of influence on a place like LinkedIn, the people who have a ton of influence recognize the power of their personal brands. So what are they doing? They're posting content, right? But they are the 0.0001%. So it's the people that like my posts that I find very fascinating, right? I'm always looking at the likes and the comments and who they're from, because every single post is different and every single post provides me with an opportunity to reach out to that individual. And you never know where that relationship's going to go. And I think that's what's so exciting for me as I build my own personal brand and help other people with their personal brands, because the light bulb just goes off. You know, you're like, I wake up in the morning and go, where am I going to get invited to speak today? You know, what opportunity is going to come to me? Every single day is like Christmas. And so look through the comments and look through the likes. You know, you have some VPs of this or that. You have TEDx speakers. You have people from different, in my world, right? Like Sarah Hoyt, she's a tech recruiter from Uber Advanced Technologies, flying cars. You know, that's a place that I wouldn't mind working. And so it's really important to pay attention to.
Every day is like Christmas, man. I love that.
Yeah, man, it is. It is. I feel that every day. Okay. So here's something that may or may not be controversial. You may have heard of content pods. It's very, very easy to create a content pod. You know, a handful of individuals that are being coached by Michael can create a content pod. It's very easy to do. Michael can even start one. Make it a little engagement pod. You just go up, you hit the little, you're at the home feed on your app. You hit the little comment thing on the top right. Boom, you create a message and you type the amount of names that you want to be in the pod. That's it. And when you're ready to create a post, you drop a post in there. And the people who are in the group can then engage with each other on their posts and hit that critical 60-minute algorithm trigger to make your content go viral. Not every time is it going to go viral, but it helps. Now, this is useful when you're starting. And also when you're starting, LinkedIn tends to prioritize more views for people who are starting. They want you to continue, right? They want to kind of throw you a bone. Okay. But as you've been creating for a while longer, the normal rules of the game kind of apply, right? Of engagement metrics and how many people they're showing after the first couple hours. But I don't use content pods anymore. I did a little bit when I first started. When I had about 20, 30,000 followers, I was using content pods. But it does take time, right? There's a commitment by you and the other individuals who are posting content. And it's a big time commitment. So you have to kind of weigh the options here. But you can use it as a way to get started. And after you grow a little bit, then you can, go off on your own.
So a couple quick questions. One of the questions was, okay, people are seeing your numbers and they're thinking, well, he's got this big, huge audience. No wonder he's getting the kind of, interaction. Sure. Talk to somebody who is out there that has 200, 500 connections. I mean, all this stuff is going to help it, but I don't want them to feel deflated when they see these numbers and go, oh, there's no way I could get to that. because you had to start somewhere too, my man. I mean, I know the whole
Yeah.
acronym FIT and all these things, but if you had to give that person a little bit of encouragement, what would you tell
Yeah.
them?
I mean, I started on LinkedIn with 2.5 or, oh geez, when was it? Gosh, maybe it was about 3 years ago now, consistently posting. And I just started. And if you really look at the history, and you go all the way back, it's hard to do on LinkedIn, but if you spend you're like, okay, I'm going to spend 5 minutes and go to the very first post John ever created and look at how many likes and shares and comments I got. 0, right? 10 posts deep. I'm 2 likes, 1 comment. 20 posts deep. I'm 7 likes, 10 likes, 3 to 5 comments, right? 70 posts deep. I'm 50 comments, couple viral posts. And why is that? Because the community started to understand who John was. I wasn't just a face behind a social media platform, right? I wasn't just a face behind a job title. I was John with a story. And John with a story, people bought into John with the story, right? They bought into my why I do what I do, not what I do. And that's how I grew.
Got it.
Okay, so let's see. I think we're getting close to. Okay, pro tip, last one here before we open it up to questions. But this one is interesting. I don't know if you know this one yet or not, but you can set your profile to followers or connections, and it's important to set your profile to followers. You can have a number of different connections, but you want to grow your presence, and the presence is going to be grown by growing your follower base. And so if you notice, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, it has the main icon is not connect, it's follow. And then you have to click the button to the right and then see a drop down to actually connect with me as well. And that's also a lever for me getting those followers, because every time I post something, people go to my profile and they go, oh, I can follow this person. And I click that button, right? And that then feeds the beast of people getting shown my content.
Love that. I love that. A couple questions coming through here. Number one is, maybe you could speak to the difference between, the premium account versus non-premium account. What's the benefit? I'm sure that you could speak on that a little bit.
Yeah. So I have a premium account. I just kept my premium account. I really don't use it for anything. To be honest with you, I've just kept that status. I like being able to see who has viewed my profile. That's just an interesting one for me. That's really the only thing I use it for. In 30 days, every 30 days, I kind of just scan through like the who's viewed your profile thing. And I tend to have like per month about 40 to 60,000 people per month who have viewed my profile. And so I'm just kind of like, I'll spend 10, 15 minutes scanning through and just see what's happening there. But that's it. I don't go to the LinkedIn learning stuff. There's a lot of value there, but like, it's just not really what I'm doing.
So that's the other question, especially for salespeople and brands that are building, is how do you cross from the engagement, that there are things that LinkedIn wants you to do, but also to get to that actual point of contact. So the question real simply is, any tips for moving the connections in the offline phone conversations, aka developing leads, right? In other words, going viral is great, but at the end of the day, we want to build a business and connect.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Any tips there?
Yeah. So the main thing, as you're growing on your social media posts and you're looking at the comments, right? Those comments are coming through. Maybe it's something that you're a mountain biker, right? Or a skier or something like that, right? Somebody else, and that's why I look through the comments, right? Somebody else who is a VP at X organization also just commented like, oh yeah, I just went mountain biking with my kids. Boom. That's the point of entry, right? Then you take that person and you watch what they've created over the next couple of days. They create something, you share it. Because you're not sharing it based on what you do for a living. You're sharing it based on the connection you had based on some other thing. You do that a few times, and then that's your doorway to open up the conversation. Hey man, we've had, we shared some things about mountain biking, what have you. I'd love to talk to you. I know you're at this company, a couple minutes of your time. I think I can save you some money. That's it.
Yeah. That's how I do it. I try to find, I love that you use the phrase long game.
Yeah.
Because I think that we get so caught up that this is somehow going to turn into a short game. It's just not,
And it can for like 1% of people.
Right.
But not most of us.
Yeah. And I think that's where the challenge with some of the folks I'm working with here is, once I've got them, on the highway, if you will, and start engaging the highway of LinkedIn and social media, people call me and say, I have nothing's come back yet. I'm like, buddy, it takes like 13 touches in general. It could be a phone call, a text message, something in the mail for somebody to get to engagement. 13 touches. I saw that study for Microsoft last year during COVID. Just 13 likes on LinkedIn doesn't count as 13 touches either.
No.
In different ways, right? So I always teach the long game. I just don't use that phraseology, and I think it's important. Question that came up about brands. What if you have multiple businesses, right? What is your recommendation for engagement? Create individual LinkedIn accounts or profiles, or keep everything under one account? What's your take there?
It's hard enough to be consistent in your own account, let alone to have numerous accounts. And I think it's important for you to try and package up your brand as one, not necessarily one holistic thing, but under one profile. That's very important, because you don't want to be switching, logging in, logging out, engaging. I mean, it would be way too much to deal with. You're going to lose track of your community. And so it's YouTube. I'm going to bring up YouTube for just a sec, because YouTube is like, I got to be so micro niche focused. Every single video's got to have the title salary negotiation : some topic sub salary negotiation, right? I'm flooding a keyword phrase to get search relevancy. LinkedIn is different. People see your stuff in the feed for 1 week, and then the feed resets on Monday.
Yeah.
So I can test different content. This week, I can be salesy, right? Test it out if I want. I can pepper something in. Next week, emotional stories, right? Something I'm dealing with, something I love to do. And you kind of pepper different sides of you. I'm always talking about different things. I talk about real estate investment. I talk about product management. I talk about, tech careers, resume stuff. But it is the holistic picture of my brand.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important. And the other question that came up, and I get this one a lot, it's in the Q&A, but people will ask me to, and I tell my clients out there that I would help them, because a lot of times some of the folks that are newer don't have as many of the connects. So I'll share. If they text me on my phone and say, hey man, I just posted something, can you share it with your people? I have no problem doing it, obviously, if it's congruent with my brand and whatnot. But any rules of engagement on that? I know some people go a little crazy with it. Some people, maybe they don't ask at all because there's no benefit to it. I do it because I want to help my people get more exposure, right? But what are your thoughts on that process?
Yeah, the exposure help is going to be more from your comments than your shares.
That's good.
Actually, yeah, that's what I've found. Like we were talking about before, the share works if you're trying to make that touch point of connection, right? To play that longer game with a client. Anytime people ask me all the time, like, share this thing, for cancer research or something that, me personally, I'm interested in helping people with. And they think that I'm going to magically get them a crap load of views for that topic. One, it's off brand, right? Two, when I share it for them, it's not that magic bullet.
Right.
And I have people too, they hit me up for like sponsored posts all the time. And I usually reject it because it's just got to be spun a certain way. And,
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Good questions. So what about, just give us a couple fundamentals, because we have a mixed crowd. Some people a little bit more advanced with it, some not.
Sure.
The question about premium. Some people that you can actually go on your account and see what the difference is between like a premium account or not. It'll tell you right on there what's the benefit of it.
Right.
Some people can see your posts, how many in-mails you can do. LinkedIn will tell you if you Google it. It's super simple.
Sure.
But what are absolutes other than like you have to have a profile picture, a good bio update, anything about your own profile itself that
Yeah.
gets you
Yeah.
better in the game? Any thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, yeah, man. This is let me just share my screen and just go to my let me just go to my profile real quick
Yeah, while
because
you're looking, I was noticing I had a client of mine who's extremely heavy in nonprofit, and that's
yeah,
not even their job. They're just super contributory. And you go to their profile and there's nothing. I know it's at the bottom, like you said on LinkedIn profile, they try to feed the top, not the bottom.
yeah,
But if people are going, like I look for that stuff. If I go to your profile, I actually do scroll through. I want to see where'd you go to college, when did you graduate, kind of gauge what age you are, maybe if it's relevant. Do you give
sure.
community? Do you give to the community? That's important to me. I'm a
Yeah.
contributor myself. So if you do that, but you don't represent that on your profile, to me, that's a boo-boo. I mean, you should be doing that. But I know there's other
Absolutely.
things outside of just the brand and what people like I see. What's going to help like LinkedIn's kind of, mathematics, if you will, to help you on that?
Yeah. So I mean, okay. So there's searchability when it comes to your headline. So you have to think about this as like keyword driven. Whether it's Google, whether it's YouTube, think about LinkedIn as the world's largest search engine to find professionals, right? And so what are you known for? And what can be searched? Right. So what is your job title? If you're some type of physician, and you want people to find you for some reason, like maybe I'm like typing like, uh, ER doc, or gastroenterologist, Phoenix, right? Okay, great. You need to have that in your headline so that people can actually search you. There's another strategy from a headline perspective of just like, just calling out what you love doing or what you're a master at helping people with. There's a number of strategies that I talk through about this, right? There's 6 or 7 different buckets that I tend to categorize these things into. But one way is just like, tell them exactly who you are. But that strategy, if you're saying like, I help young professionals get jobs without applying and praying, learn more, it would negate others finding me for my title.
Right.
So it's a bit of a push and pull from a searchability. If you don't want to be searched, and if you want to just have people find you through the content you create, what do you want them to see on their profile versus like if you want your title in your headline? But I think more importantly is the banner.
Mm-hmm.
Banner is the number one thing. It's you think algorithmically, right? This is the very top thing on the profile. The number one thing. It's even above the picture. And a lot of people are not using it to its fullest, right? I can go to canva.com. It's $12 a month. It's got a bunch of templates in there from a design standpoint. You can put in your name, put in your top 3 things that you do, right? For me, I have career strategist, mindset, financial freedom, right? I want to be known for these 3 things. And that's it. Follow me for daily content.
Yep. That's good. I love it. One question came up. Thanks, Andrew. If you're working in hobbies like mountain biking, for example, for a post,
Yeah.
you're trying to hold on. I got to change my screen here. Trying to connect with it with a work scenario because it seems to be a lot of hate around non-work related topics. This isn't Facebook. So how heavy do you go that route? I mean, I personally look for people's hobbies, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Me personally, if you go to mine, I don't lay it on thick. Loves wine connoisseur, travels the world, because then people are gonna look at you like, oh, braggadocious or it's just too much information. I mean, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on where do you draw the line?
Yeah. I mean, I tend to stay away from like religion and politics, and
I'm
I
with you
tend
on
to.
that one.
Yeah. But I don't think it's not too much if it's part of your journey. If it's you, authentically you want to attract others into your world who believe what you believe.
Yeah.
So I personally think it's very important to share those things. Now it's a matter of your own perspective, right? Of what you are and you are not willing to share. But I promise you this, if you only post professional topics, you are not going to build the community and you are not going to build the virality. unless you put some kind of crazy, funny spin on it or something like that. But it would be very difficult to do because people want to know you, not what you do.
Yeah. I think that's one of the hardest parts for people in general is what's your story part, getting real people, being authentically real. And that means I always say, I talk about in coaching and speaking as well as being vulnerable is a power, being honest with the things that you struggle with. I mean, without like wearing like a billboard on your life, and saying, hey, I'm a victim of some sort. It's just being relatable with people. And that's one thing I love that you and I click so quickly on this topic because we'll talk about personal branding. I'm big on that. Is being authentic and being real and just having that kind of relatability with other people. That's the stuff you teach in sales. That's like mano a mano. If you're going to go have a coffee with someone or go, have a group meeting in a boardroom, it's not because you have some kick-ass PowerPoint. It's because you're relatable. You build rapport, right? It's no different with this.
Well, and there's one thing I'll say to that, because there's a fine line between sharing sob stories versus sharing what you've overcome.
Right. That's
very important. Sharing what you're overcome is the hero's journey. It's the Paramount Pictures movie, right? That's the stories that people want to hear. And those are the stories that can tend to go viral. Yeah. What have I overcome that I can help others with? And that's where people want to engage. Like, hey, I face this thing too. Oh my gosh, or I'm going through that right now. But if you're constantly posting like, oh my God, I'm going through a divorce and it's just hellacious or something like that. People are like, oh man, I got my own problems.
Yeah, no kidding. I have some friends from high school who I won't name. They're not on here anyway, but I don't like block people. I mean, even during the election, it got out of hand, as we all know. People were going at each other left and right.
Yeah.
I just could not believe how much, I don't know, courage or I would call it lack of knowledge. It's almost just dumb. You don't put your brand out there about your victimization of whatever it is that you're going through. It's real. It's like, that's the part about, too much information. So I think that's a great question about hobbies and things of that nature, because you have to kind of find your voice. What is your voice? What is your brand out there? And how do you want to be known? And what are you going to attract? I think that's the point at the end of the day.
And I think, if there's a tiebreaker, the tiebreaker is often, and maybe it's sometimes a little bit uncomfortable from an energy standpoint, like you and what you're attracted to, as far as like, if you were to think about a number of topics, of buckets of things that you could write about, what is the thing that you would consistently want to write about?
Right.
That's really holistically what your brand should be at some point, right? If we're thinking long game, what do you want to be known for? Very important. Sometimes it goes against what we're actually doing today. And that's something I help people with, but yeah.
Hey, can you do us a favor? Can you pop up your contact information?
Yes, sir.
I think that we have some other questions. I'll follow up with you guys after the fact. We're coming up on an hour, a couple minutes. So I want to be respectful of your time, especially you guys on the East Coast, sorry. John, just thanks so much, man. I mean, this is obviously huge for me. I'm doing my whole rebranding with my site and everything I'm doing this year and how it ties together. And I always say, speed of leader, speed of pack. If I'm not doing this myself, it's hard to coach to it. So I go find the best. That's what I learned working for Tony Robbins. Modeling is the duplication of success. Success leaves clues, and you're leaving a lot of them for me, for my team out here. So I want to say thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. So stay tuned. This is all his contact information. Feel free to reach out to him independently. I like to promote my friends, my colleagues, my coaches, everyone that's been an influence on me. So if you have any inspiration and want to reach out to him completely, that's the way to do it. Any parting words, my man? I want to let you go.
No, that's it. Just follow your authentic voice. Be really consistent. Remember the long game.
I love it. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you so much. Appreciate it,
Thanks, everyone. Take care.